You have been learning Chinese for months or even years. You recognize some character, maybe you can speak a few. But when a Chinese person comes and speak to you, your brain freezes. Does that sound familiar to you? Well, don't worry because you're not alone. So in today's video, I am going to break down 6 real reasons why most of the Chinese beginners struggle to have conversation in Chinese. Let's start the biggest mistake, which is vocabulary overload. So most of the beginners think if they have enough vocabulary, they will be able to speak. So they spend hours and hours on the flashcard, on the space repetition or on the word list. But here's the truth. Words itself doesn't help you to talk. For example, if you're thinking about learning English word, if you just learn went, bread, yesterday, you still wouldn't know how to say I went to buy bread yesterday. So it's the same thing for Chinese. What you need is not just the word itself. You need words and also sentence pattern, or in other words, structure. So this brings to the second reason why most of the Chinese learners fail to have conversation is because there's no foundation in sentence pattern. So instead of memorizing all those random words, you learn one sentence pattern or one structure and then you swap the new words. It's like a formula that can help you to create 10 sentences, 20 sentences, and 30 sentences. Let me give you an example. Rather than just learning these 2 words, 工作 上学, you actually learn a sentence. 你在哪里? That means, where do you? So then you can put the words into the blank. Then you can say this. 你在哪里工作? Where do you work? Or 你在哪里上学? Where do you study? Or you literally can go Google and find some new words and add in the blank. For example, you can say 你在哪里吃午饭? So 吃午饭 means have lunch. So where do you have lunch? Did you see that? Literally, one sentence structure equal unlimited sentence. So that's the power of learning sentence pattern. So once you learn sentence pattern, you won't have difficulty forming a sentence when you're actually wanting to talk. You are not guessing anymore and you know you say it correctly. And that builds confidence for you to speak more. So if you already apply what we just said in your learning, you will find out soon enough you can easily say a lot of sentences. However, that doesn't mean you can have a conversation. Why? This brings to the reason number 3, not enough listening practice. So how are you going to have a conversation? One of the important factors is that you need to understand what those people are talking about. So if you can't understand them, you can't even answer them. Even you have hundreds and hundreds of sentences that you learn, if you don't get it, you don't know what to say back to them. So to have conversation, you need to have more listening practice. I know right now a lot of the students will probably think, oh my god, I know, this is so cliched. But think about this. When you learn, do you actually spend time reading or memorizing words? Or do you actually listen to native Chinese? But again, practice listening skill need a good method. Even though listening individual words help you, listening a sentence help you better. So let's use the example that we just talked about. We know how to say 你在哪里工作, right? Where do you work? But if you listen individual words, so you will learn this. 你工作在哪里, right? But however, when we actually talk, we wouldn't sound like a robot like this. 你在哪里工作? Have you ever heard anyone speak like that? No, of course not. Because when we speak, we actually speak in blocks, right? So we will form some parts together. For example, 在哪里? Because that means at where, right? At where. So we actually will make it together. Sounds like a word, so we say it really fast. 在哪里? 在哪里? Rather than say 在哪里? So 你在哪里工作? That's how we say it. So if you just learn those individual words, when it comes to sentence, your brain freeze. You freak out. You say, I don't know what they talk about. And that's exactly why. So listening sentence like this will actually help you to understand the rhythm, understand how we pronounce, and also help you to memorize those daily words better. So in my beginner's course, I literally teach my students by focusing on sentence pattern rather than memorize those individual words. And also I offer one-on-one conversation practice so that they can practice their listening skill by listening to the natural speed. So which means they will feel more confident after several practice with me. So if you want to learn more about this course, you can check the link below or you can just message me. For some students, if they apply or we have discussed into their learning, they will soon find out they can have some conversation with people. However, some students still struggle to have conversation. Reason why? Because they're scared. They're scared of making mistakes, they're scared people will laugh at them, they're scared they're gonna mess up, so they want it to be perfect. In fact, there's nothing like perfect when you just started it. So think of when you learn riding a bicycle. You learn all the theory. When you're riding a bicycle, you still fall. And then you get up and you ride again and you still fall. So how many times you fall until you actually learn how to ride a bicycle? So same thing as learning a language. There's nothing called perfect. You can't prepare perfect until you have conversation. This doesn't exist. The first sentence come out of your mouth will be terrible. But that's fine, because that's the time you need to learn what you can improve. So next time, if your brain thinks like this, like what happened if people laugh at me? What happened if I mess up? What happened if I made a mistake? Well, remember this. Mistakes are part of the process. No one will speak in Chinese fluently without making thousands of mistakes. In fact, making mistakes will help your brain memorize the correction better. So another common mistake that most of the learners do is that they learn Chinese character way too early. So at the very beginning, if you just wanted to have conversation with people, do not learn Chinese character. Okay? Well, think of this way. When you are kids, if you wanted to say, how are you? Do you need to learn how to read, how are you, in order to say, how are you? Does that make sense? So same thing in Chinese. If you wanted to say, like, 你好, or have a conversation with people, do you need to read before you say that? No. I know some people will say, but in English, if you learn how to read, it helps you with the pronunciation. Well, I'm totally agree with that. But in Chinese, it's totally different. So Chinese character, which looks like this, there's a lot of lines in there. It doesn't really help you with pronunciation at all. Okay? So that if you try to learn just to have conversation with people, at the very beginning, learning character literally just waste of your time, and then that will make you feel like Chinese is so hard, you will lose all the motivation. You don't feel, happy to talk to people, and you just struggle. And then eventually that will lead to you just to give up. But the thing is, you just learn the character way too early. So again, if you are a beginner, what you need to do, you need to prioritize speaking and listening first. Learn pinyin, use pinyin, listen to the native speaker, mimicking, repeat the words. Okay, those will help you to have a conversation. So another reason why most of the Chinese beginners fail to have conversation is because of their mindset. The belief is one of the biggest reasons why people are giving up. So a lot of learners believe Chinese is so hard, it's gonna take years for me to have conversation. But the truth is, if you focus on listening, speaking, and learning sentence pattern, you literally can speak, or literally can have conversation just within weeks. You don't need to be fluent to communicate. You just need a few dozen high-frequency words and a flexible sentence pattern. then you can have conversation. It's totally doable. So if you still don't believe, just within a short time you can have conversation, well, wait for my next video. My next video is about my student Billy. He successfully have conversation just by studying Chinese within a couple of months. And I will show you literally that we have nearly 6 minute conversation non-stop. Just literally by asking question, answer question. So you can looking forward to that. So at the meantime, while you're waiting for that video, you can go back to check this video about how to pronounce in Chinese better. So if you think this video is helpful, please do me a favor, give a like so that more students can find it. If you'd like more lessons about Chinese learning or Chinese sentence or Chinese words, just subscribe and hit the notification bell so you wouldn't miss any single episode. Okay, thank you guys. That's today's video and thank you for watching and I will see you next time.